But they're also building, there's companies out there building biofilters for the green algae blooms in the state to filter the tributary rivers going into St. John's to stop the green algae blooms. It won't stop the problem on the front end, but it'll help. It'll help filter. But if you've ever bought a Brita water filter, that's what this is. It's done in more of a lab setting than out in the field, but it's the same type material, activated carbon and biostuff.
And you can brush your teeth.
But yes, and charcoal, yes, anything like the charcoal.
She said, don't step too far and there's a pit.
Leachate pond is runoff, water runoff from landfills.
I don't want to sink.
Landfills, like we have a leachate pond right there. That's all the runoff from our food waste. So all the food waste runs off into a pond. So the leachate from landfills, they have a lot worse
garbage
stuff.
landfill, they have
A lot worse stuff in there. So there's a lot of tannin, there's a lot of bad stuff in there. So this will filter it all out. This filters it out, and then they can enough to release back to the utility companies that can then retreat it and then get it back.
I'll give you a non-scientific version that, like layman terms of how it works.
Yeah. The surface area.
This is very porous, so it has a lot of like microscopic holes that you can't see. So kind of keep that in your mind. The second thing is that we talked about microbes. So there's good microbes and there's bad microbes, right? But the microbes in the soil, for plants to grow and thrive, you need those microbes in the soil, and they need to eat. And there's a lot of nutrients that comes from the leachate, and when you have a storm, everything, it'll flow through. If you just have sand, all that nutrients flows so fast through the sand in our sandy soils in Florida, right? So it goes right through the sand, and the little microbes are like, oh, I want a bite of that, but it flows away. When you put the biochar in, all the nutrients goes to the biochar and all the pores that it has, and it sits there. And the microbes can come over and have their little dinner and eat it, and then for lack of being scientific at all, they kind of like poop it out. And whatever they poop out, that's the process of their bodies processing the bad nutrients creates a good nutrients. And that's how you make the soil nice. But if the filter is not in there, all that nutrients just flows right through and goes into our waterways. So you put the biochar in, and it gives it kind of like a buffet for the good. It holds it there. So that's my non-scientific version.
That was good.
Yeah.
So you should have a layer of that in your home garden?
A lot of people will put a layer
So
out.
yeah, in the soil, what it does is it attracts all the nutrients to
Sure.
it and holds it for plants to feed off for 10 years.
Is it accurate to say it's kind of as a binder?
Yeah.
But you
So-
mentioned it needed to be powdered.
Yes. Yeah. So
The
we
blender.
either break it up here, or you can just bring it home and run it over with your car tire. And
There
Yeah.
you go.
just put it on your
Get
driveway,
your
run it over a few
frustrations out
times,
today.
and then it's powder, and then just put it in your garden, or whatever. Yeah, but we can grind it up here, but we leave it big because of the end users. We don't know what they're using.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
biofilters, we
They
want
might
the
want bigger.
the big surface area. In the soil, we want it in a powder form, where it can attract
And
everything.
at Christmas,
hold it
you
in.
can sell it to people who need it for storm.
Yes, exactly.
That would be a good present, though. For good kids.
But yeah, and now there's new legislation coming too with bioswales and stormwater runoff and stormwater treatments. So I don't know if you want to touch that.
I won't go into it too much, but a law just passed. The state of Florida passed a law that went into effect on May 7th, so two days ago, that developers, and this could be anybody who's developing any type of residential or commercial property, has to now prove that 80% of stormwater runoff, 80% of that nutrients is being reduced by 80%. In the past, developers had to, and Sarah, you probably could help me on this, but in the past, developers had to have an engineer say, oh yeah, this will work.
So hay
Now,
bales or something like
hay
that.
bale, whatever, they had
Really
the engineer say, yeah, this process will reduce the nutrient runoff. Now, what the new law says is they have to prove it. So they don't just have to say the engineer says it works. They have to actually prove that it's working, and they have to actually show that they're reducing 80% of the nutrients. Well, on the list of best management practices is using sand media filters, and we've talked with the Florida DEP, and biochar is on that list of things that will work. So people can now use our biochar in new development, in any type of stormwater runoff ponds or systems or bioswales or anything. They can use our biochar as a filter. And USF did do a study the last year. They've been studying our biochar for stormwater runoff. They tested it for cattle runoff.